Okay, greetings. Lately I've been very, very fortunate, very grateful. I have a wife that loves me. She saw me outside in a big snowstorm we had about a month ago, and just absolute craziness. And she bought me this beautiful Kubota Lx3310 with a cab, heated, air conditioned. I mean, just absolutely amazing. But as you can tell from the title, I wanted to add the third function on the bucket, and I also wanted a couple of circuits in the back here for some of the attachments that I'm going to get. I do have a big 68-inch rear-mounted snowblower, absolutely awesome. I bought it off the marketplace, a nice Meteor, and works absolutely amazing. But of course, it has a hydraulic chute. And I have no hydraulics back here. So I contacted Summit out in Arizona and told them what I had. And they said, well, you know, they made a kit and everything like that, but they don't have the hookup type stuff for the cab tractor out there, I guess in Arizona. I don't know why they wouldn't run AC, but, you know, they don't do cab tractors out there. And they said the kit will fit, do everything it's supposed to do and everything. I just had to figure out the brackets and the placement and all that sort of stuff. Because on a regular standard open station, the ROPS is out here and it loops around like that, and the hydraulics actually mount to it. You know, it's a pretty simple, straightforward installation with their kit. They make a beautiful kit. Components are all really nice and everything like that, and nice wires. You know, there's the douche fittings and everything like that. It's really quite nice. In looking at the fittings, you know, the wiring here, I should say, I have done a lot of automation equipment, and I like this wrap stuff. It's really funny that, you know, something like this, but I wrap it, it'll go around. You could get this in various widths. I think this is 10 millimeter. But you just start it off and, you know, wrap it around, and it goes around. Wire ties really nice, and, you know, conforms well to wires coming in and wires going out and stuff like that, which is not something to split down the middle stuff. And that's what they sent me, and you know, I appreciate it, but I like working with this stuff. The other thing I do, if it's going to be outdoors like this, is if you're at all familiar with bituthane, roofing underlayment, it's pretty amazing stuff. It sticks, you know, you peel the back off of it, you put it down, but God forbid the stuff ever touches itself. There's another material that's somewhat like that, you know, crosses over into marine and motorhomes and, you know, that sort of thing. It's called Eternabond tape. And it's pretty much the same thing. I buy it in the 2-inch strips, and I have some that's 6 inches wide. I basically cut off a 3 or 4 inch piece. You wrap it around the wire here, especially at the beginning, maybe around you know, a couple of points in the middle and whatnot. And also, it's very good for abrasion. But also, unlike bituthane or any of the underlayment, it's also very good for UV protection. So you can use it in different places. I also used it when the wire goes down my bucket controller. I wrapped a couple of pieces around there as well. But when it touches itself, front or back, it just does not come off and lasts an extremely long time. I made the wiring harness and everything like that, and then I got up underneath here and was looking all around. I was looking at my Car Beyond, which I have to hook my fittings onto, and I happened to notice they actually have a nice about 3-inch by 3-inch rubber plug that goes up in there, and it has 2 channels in it that are thin, and I just put an X slice into that, and I could push the wires right up through. And I mean, it's not a perfect, you know what I mean, refit type of thing, you know, but it works really well. And I just route the wires right up in underneath and through here. I'll show that in a minute, but I made the bracket, and I'll show you that, and you know, we'll go on. This isn't going to be a long video, because I think what always works for me is, you know, rather than rolling through all of the details and watching me put the bolts together and figure all this stuff out and everything like that, I'll kind of skip to the end here, and you can kind of sort of look and see what I did. And again, you know, make it better, do it the same. However, whatever tools you have available to you, I have a CNC machine and some other stuff like that. So I didn't do a whole lot on that. I just drilled the holes. I slotted them a little bit, that sort of thing. But I did use their standard mounting plate. I have another piece of stainless in there that I'm going to use to remake this mounting plate, but this is a pretty good point to kind of sort of demonstrate. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so this is somewhat similar to how they do it. It's basically a compression clamp around one of the, in this case, this is part of the ROPS, but this is also basically the cab mount. You can actually see the cab mount just down below over in there. And, I just, kind of sort of took a couple of pieces, lined everything up, brought the plate out. Then I put the valve on to make sure that it would clear. You want it to have enough room. Like I said, you can see here to not completely cover the light, but I'm not taking this anywhere in particular, so I'm not going on the Autobahn or anything like that. And then, as I was saying, you come up underneath here, and you can see right here, this is a little cutout, and there's a rubber plug in here, and it has these two channels, and it's made for wires to go, or implement, whatever you need to put through it. And all I did was put a slit in it. I could stick my finger up in there now, and that's how I fed all the wires up inside. It was really pretty simple and pretty straightforward. I made another little bracket for something, to hold my attachments there. That's what that hole's for. That's going to come back out and around once I get it finished. I'll make some updated pictures and whatnot. But, and again, with the cab mount, it's not so bad, to get to the Power Beyond. This right here, you can see the banjo bolt there, and then that's the return side, the tank side, and then you can see the pressure side right down there. And I just got to crack that off, put the fitting on that side, crack this one off, put the banjo bolt up on that, and then I can run the hoses, right back to here. Now, they sent me a couple of absolutely astronomically long hoses to go from there, 3/8 hoses from there to here, and I'm just going to make another couple of set of hoses that I don't have to wrap around things and all of that, but it should fundamentally work really, really well. And so then it's onto the inside, and we'll cover that, but just to again give you that once around here. It's a nice stainless steel 316 actually. I got a bunch of that stuff laying around, all sorts of different sizes, and always whenever I see some sort of scrap or something along those lines, I always make sure I grab it. But I'm fortunate to have a place nearby that has a lot of that stuff. These are my two forward. This is my third. This will be my third function, and then this obviously is feeding into the valve block. So let's go take a look inside, and I'll show you what I did in there. Okay, so in here, this is a pretty simple, pretty straightforward, probably pretty simple, similar to the open station. I went down the shifter, underneath this, and then this one here I have obviously the PTO, and then the cruise control. And the wires run up inside of there. And then here I have the double switch, okay, because again I have my setup is one front, which is on the shifter here, and again this is a very similar type setup, but like I said, I did use the Turn-A-Bond tape just to hold the wire on there. Makes it nice and neat. Just turned it away from me so I don't see the gray. That wire there, I just ran down that side of that ROPS underneath this plastic piece there, and basically runs down underneath, and that's where I coiled up the extra, because there is quite a bit of extra. Another thing I think is a really good practice for everyone is they're very cheap. You get them off of where else but Amazon. Are ferrules. So whenever I terminate a wire, if I'm not soldering it, I will even put these into butt connectors and then put the butt connectors you know, together and crimp the butt connectors. They just, you know, they make a really super solid seal. If you are using the butt connectors, I always use the 3M heat shrink ones. But you know, if you're going to put a couple of wires together and stuff like that, like I'm going to here, and I'll show you the connectors here in a minute, but I use something called Wagos. This is an interior application, and so they're lever clamp, you know, locks. But then what makes them really nice is you can get them in 2-station, 3-station, 4-station, 5-station, so that you can literally tie 5 wires together. And they're German, and they are just, you know, extremely well engineered and work really, really well in these type of applications. It's behind my seat, inside the cab, and everything like that. So you know, it's a great place to put them to use. You know, you might you know, solder and you know, obviously heat shrink tube and all that sort of stuff with exterior applications. But again, this is inside of a cab, so I'm going to go with those. I'll once I wrap this up, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, that's pretty much wrapped up my power feed, and you can see the Wago connectors on the end there, and they're basically like this. Spring lever, right? So you pop open those 2 orange levers, and then they have an amazing amount of holding power when you snap these down, and it locks the wire in there, especially if you have a ferrule on the end of it. Now, it does work perfectly fine with a wire, but I have just found, you know, again, like I said, terminating wires and putting ferrules on them is, you know, just a standard exercise for me. Never anything come apart or anything like that. I'm sure everybody's had butt connectors slip and whatnot. They don't slip when they have a ferrule on the end of them. And then, you know, all I do is just take this, a nice little plastic piece here, and I'll I can do this here, slide that, pop that right up in there, back there, get it back a little bit farther, and there you go. You know, basically you have the entire setup. I obviously used a few the tie wrap sticker blocks there you put on and hold the wires down in. You can see the, you know, not much you can do about the length of the cables with a universal kit. It's pretty much what you get is what you get. But, you know, again, it tucked up in there nicely. Switch mount, that's for the 2 back circuits. The bracket here on a piece of plastic, I could have taken this whole thing out and, you know, gotten fancy and everything like that, but I just put 2 screws in there. But what I also did, you know, another just absolutely amazing, you know, material, I put a little bit of 5200, 3M 5200 on the bottom of it, and then put the screws. It's amazing stuff. It's similar to like a caulking, you know, type material, only it is a mega adhesive. It takes it can take a week to dry, but then once it dries, I can tell you this: if you have a pair of sneakers or a pair of shoes, you know, you get old like us and you just want them to live forever, like, you know, you wish you could live forever, and the sole comes off and this and that, you bring it to the cobbler and it lasts a year or 2. If you put 5200 on it, it'll outlive you. So I just put a couple of little dabs on the bottom of it, and the screws are really there just, you know, to hold it there until, as you can see, you know, until the 5200 dries. But it's a really excellent material. Comes in a number of different sizes. I have a small tube of it here, you know, in black. Just you make note of it. But you can also get it in tubes of caulking. I have actually used this stuff in between the keel of a sailboat and the hull of a sailboat, because the bolts hold it on. But I'll tell you, you know, I wouldn't go sailing with it like that, but you could literally pull the bolts out when it was out of the water and sitting there, and that keel won't move a millimeter. It's absolutely amazing stuff. But again, like I said, it's not the kind of stuff you set and just, you know, go the next day or something like that. It takes quite a while. But that's pretty much wrapping up, you know, all the electronics and, you know, the controls and whatnot inside. So last thing I have to do is just set up for the hydraulic hookup with the transmission. Okay, last little bit on the bracket. You know, like I said, I'm really you know, pleased with how it turned out. And again, you could make a few modifications to the existing bracket that they have. But the problem that you have, you can angle it up, right? And that would angle this up. But the problem that you have is you really want this up a little bit higher than, you know, again, on the open cockpit version, it's, you know, the open station version, it's up here. You know, so it's pretty well, you know, out of the way. I like it tucked in here. You know, I think it's in a really good, you know, spot and whatnot. But, you know, you do have to get it up, you know, as high as possible. That's why, you know, I made the bracket the way that I did. It can't come up too high either, because up above here, that window opens. And if you, you know, put it up too high, you're going to hit the window. And that wouldn't be good either. But I can literally reach out the window and, you know, kind of sort of lean out and or couple and uncouple. You know, I don't think it's a huge deal to, you know, a great advantage type thing, but it is, you know, something that is possible. So, you know, again, just to give folks, you know, some ideas about, you know, a simple setup that, you know, works really well for this. And if you have any questions, just, you know, throw them in the comments, and you know, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and you know, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do quite a bit more with the you know, with some of the tractor stuff. I have a Apple CarPlay put in here because I want to have with that rear mounted snowblower, I want to have a nice backup camera that I can look up at the backup camera rather than constantly be turning around. You're obviously going to turn around quite a bit, but with the backup camera, that should be pretty helpful. And it's pretty cool to have a tractor with CarPlay in it. So anyway, I'll do a quick one on that one too, because it's tricky. You've got to get just the right one because you don't have a whole lot of clearance up in there, but I found one that works absolutely perfect. So we'll cover that next time. Take care, and see you around.